Today, as we gather in joint session, as we do every year, to exercise a very important function we have as the state legislature, and that's election of the Board of Regents, who, as we all know, has for hundreds of years been tasked with the policy end of our education system, our primary, secondary, higher education system, as well as our licensing in our state. And we all know that the decisions that these men and women will make have a great impact not only on our school children, but each and every taxpayer in New York State, because the policies do have a fiscal impact on all of our local districts, and certainly our local school budgets and our local property taxes. I think as we stand here today, there is a reason for optimism. Our colleagues in the majority have put forward some new individuals with impressive resumes and a great deal of experience in our school system, and I commend them for that, and this is a tremendous step forward both for this House and for the board. And we're certainly thankful for the over 40 individuals who we had the opportunity to interview last month, and for them having their willingness to serve and putting their names forward. However, positive outcomes don't mask what remains a very flawed process. Myself and several of my minority colleagues, including my counterpart as ranker on higher education, Chad Lupinacci, and my colleagues on the Education Committee, Al Graff and Dean Murray, spent a lot of time sitting in the interviews, many hours a few weeks back. And since that time, there's been very little input from the minority. Many of my colleagues actually just found out within the last 24 hours that they would be getting a new regent for their region. They weren't aware of that. So I think that there is much work that remains to be done, and the key to that is transparency, as the public remains somewhat in the dark on this process. Many of our colleagues in both houses believe time has come, and have for many years, to reform this process. There's been proposals put forward to have the regents be popularly elected by their judicial districts. There's been proposals to allow the executive branch to select the education commissioner like they do with other government agencies. And I, for one, believe that the time has come to codify this process so that we can make sure it is as open and transparent as possible. You know, our colleagues, and I commend them for this, in the Hudson Valley undertook a very comprehensive process. They had interviews back home and then brought the people up here. And that is how the process should work. And I hope we can talk about actually putting that type of vetting process into statute to avoid things like what we saw last year, and certainly what seems to be a little bit of chaos on Regents Day each and every year. So I hope that the new regents, as well as the returning regents that are going to be elected this afternoon, will take advantage of this tremendous opportunity and certainly responsibility, and dedicating themselves to being independent advocates for the children of New York State. These individuals will be tasked with running our education system at a very, very tumultuous time. There's a lot of questions out there. There's a lot of parents, teachers, administrators with concerns with everything that's going on. And they're going to need to work to restore those relationships with our local districts, with our parents, with our teachers, and restore the faith of those individuals in our New York State Education Department. And lastly, they're going to be tasked with selecting a new education commissioner. And we hope that they will undertake a process that will ensure that we get somebody not just with a very impressive resume, but that has a wealth of experience working in New York's public schools to make sure that we have the absolute best individual running our state education system at such a critical time. Thank you to my colleagues again who have participated in this process, and we look forward to working with the new individuals elected today. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.